One to the Carson City Culture and Tourism Authority Board of Directors meeting. It's September 13th, 2021. We're in the Carson Community Center at the Bob Kroll boardroom. If I could get a roll call, Linda?
Yes, Mike Jones,
Here.
Bobby Rader,
Here.
Steve Reynolds,
Here.
Stacy Giomi.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Could I ask everyone to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. This time, ask for any public comment. Is there anyone on the line?
There are no callers on the line at this time.
Thank you. I don't see any here in person, so we'll move on to item 5, possible action, approval of the minutes. Are there any board members have any changes or corrections to the minutes? If not, ask for a motion.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes.
This is Stacy. I move to approve as presented, or I'll second, sorry.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Hearing none, motion passes. We'll move on to the consent agenda. Would any member of the board like any individual item pulled for the consent agenda for discussion? Hearing none, any member of the public like any individual item pulled from the consent agenda? All right. Hearing none, we'll move on.
I'd like to make a motion if that'd be appropriate.
I'm sorry, Stacy.
I was just going to make a motion to
Oh,
approve the,
Yeah, thank you. I miss a meeting and I forget everything.
it's okay. I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Now we'll move on to item 10. David, Executive Director's Report.
Thank you, Chair Jones. For the record, David Peterson, Executive Director with the Carson City Culture and Tourism Authority. 3 things on my update for all of you this month. On the creative brand execution front, I just want to keep, again, the board informed as to where we're at with the process. We're currently finalizing the campaign's strategic brief overview. That document will be used to guide Lydia and the KPS3 creative team. And if we get that finished, my plan is to share that with all of you later this week. So I'll either email you the document or it's a big file, so I'll email it or I'll get you a link later this week. So that's an update for all of you on that front. I was hoping to have had it for the meeting today, but the timing of it just didn't work out. On to Commission on Tourism. So the grants, unfortunately, were not approved at the end of August because of the fires. The Commission on Tourism's meeting was actually canceled. At this time, they're working on getting a meeting rescheduled. So I hope to know a little bit more later on this week as to where things stand. I know we have some grants that were moved forward from the Territory Advisory Committee to the full Commission on Tourism for their review and approval. So we'll see if something happens toward the end of this week or perhaps next week. We do have a grant, if you all recall, one of them is for the ad copy testing, the qualitative and quantitative research. That's a part of this whole creative execution brand launch. So we're sort of in a little bit of a state of limbo on being able to get any of that research, underway. So hang tight, and obviously I will apprise you all probably before the next meeting. I'll just give you a heads up as to if we receive any grants and funding for those accordingly. So that's an update on the grant side of things. And then Lydia, in her presentation, she's going to talk a little bit about our communication efforts, obviously during the fires and the Caldor fire and everything that was going on up and in and around Lake Tahoe. But I just wanted to extend a huge thanks to those lodging properties who offered discounts for the evacuees, those properties that were allowing pets that don't ordinarily allow pets to come into the buildings and into their lodging properties. And then thank them too for allowing the RVs to park in the parking lots and on the adjoining streets. So big thanks to those lodging properties that stepped up to help all these folks out here for the past few weeks. So that's my update for this month, Chair, and I'm happy to entertain any questions if the board has anything for me.
Any questions for David? The board?
Okay. Mike, I'll just go ahead and thank you. Moving on to 10B, the transient occupancy tax, actual versus forecast. So in your packets, that's the big sheet. You'll see a very large number, 3.762 million for July. We set a record, all-time record in June at 2.932 million. So June was just an anomaly. I don't know how else to describe the month of July. It was an amazing month. I think a lot of things coming together, everybody just wanting to get back out and travel, and they certainly were doing that in July. Looking forward for the rest of the fiscal year, you will see August is up as well as far as our projection. Again, this is just based on some preliminary conversation that I was able to have with some properties last week. It's still a big number, not as big as July. So I've got that up about 30%. If you look all the way down at the bottom row, that's the fiscal 22 actual forecast versus the fiscal 19. So we're up about 30%. I've got September coming down to 10%. September has been a weird month, right? Because we were full with evacuees, right? But it was depressing rates compared to where we were at with regular visitors. And then for a lot of properties, the bottom dropped out last week, when everybody returned, right? So we've been kind of in a really weird week-to-week, day-to-day situation with occupancy and lodging and rates, but I still have us up about 10% as compared to September of 19. And again, I'm using fiscal 19 as our baseline because 20 and 21 are just all over the place, right, as far as what was going on with the pandemic and everything. And then for right now, I've got us at about 7.5% for the months going all the way through June. And that's also taking into consideration Staybridge coming online, right? They came online, if you recall, I want to say it was, the 9th or 11th or something like that, 13th of May. So when we put the budget together, we didn't have any data at all on Staybridge. We have a couple of months now worth of data, or 2.5 months worth of data. So my plan is to keep adjusting these numbers as we move forward. But I felt comfortable enough with this projection at this point. So right now, our forecast is about 24.2 million. If you look all the way over to the right-hand column there, that's where we're projecting to be. Again, with over 2 million of that, 3.2 million coming just in this first quarter alone. And again, I don't expect that to be the case next July, August, and September, right? I think we'll come back more in line with some growth over our 19 numbers, but that's just kind of a layout for all of you at this time. So I wish I had a crystal ball I could figure out these numbers, but it's very difficult right now, to try and trend anything at this point because we just have weird data from the last couple of fiscal years. So I'm happy to answer any questions that the board may have about the numbers as they're presented today.
No, you're right. July was an incredible month, and August was a strong month too. A little worried about September, but just the hotel business has been strong, I think, throughout the community. Any other questions for Dave on the occupancy tax?
Okay, great. Thank you. We'll move on to 10C, Events and Sales Update. With that, I'm going to turn it over to James Salanoa, our Events and Sales Manager, to give us an update on the events and sales front. So take it away, James.
Thank you, David. Just recapping like we normally do with events that happened recently, but this one actually deals with a lot of cancellations in the month of August. Due to air quality concerns, all world sports tournaments, clean and sober tournaments were canceled. In addition to, in September, we had canceled the Brewfest. The Nevada Gorge Society puts together their Silver State Art Festival. That was also canceled. And the Stetna Pay Dirt was canceled and rescheduled for May 20 through the 22nd, 2022. They were actually pretty proactive in reaching out to us, and we were talking back and forth through several weeks to try and figure out, what to do with all this fire. We didn't know what it would look like, and their demographic of writers are very environmentally conscious, and so they had some concerns. People were reaching out to them, and it was the best decision for us to make was to postpone it to early May of next year. And then, for September coming up this weekend is IPW, and I'll go into a little bit more details about that next. Oh, I just want to backtrack just a little bit. The Outlaw Flat Track race was actually very successful. We already have sent out the survey data so that we can have something to report on the riders at our next meeting. So we're hoping that we get a lot of those riders to participate and fill out the same questions that we have asked the previous event organizers to provide us with just a little bit of details about where people are traveling from, how long they're staying here in Carson, and if they're doing any other activities, if it's their first time ever attending this event. We're hoping to get a lot more information to present to you guys next month for that. Coming up this week, starting on Thursday, we have the IPW, which is taking place in Las Vegas. This slide here just kind of highlights the 4 major conferences that are coming up within the next all the way up to February. But the most recent one is the one that we're dealing with this week, which is the International Powwow. We have set scheduled appointments for 24 tour operators targeting the markets that we kind of previously talked about, Mexico, Canada, some domestic, and the UK. And we were able to secure, I think, 80% of our 24 appointments are from those destinations. We still have a chance to kind of reach out to some domestic tour operators, mostly on the East Coast is what we're kind of targeting right now, simply because we don't get to see them at some of the other conferences that we attend. So we're hoping that this is an opportunity for us to gain some awareness there in that department. But at the same time, these are tour operators that already come to either California, Nevada, or Utah. So it's not like we're asking them to come specifically out to Nevada for us. They already do tours in these regions, and we're just trying to put ourselves in the radar to kind of hopefully gain some of their business in the future. Just a little quick discussion on the pre-fam tour that's taking place this coming Thursday. We have some tour groups that are coming in. The RSCVA has kind of put this together as a package. And we have about 3.5 hours to entertain them here in Carson City. So we're going to do the rail bikes with them. And then afterwards, we have we're taking them on a city tour, hitting the Kit Carson Trail, and also some of our historical buildings on Carson Street with Mary Bennett, who has offered to do that for us. This one here, our last slide here, just deals with kind of new products. I'm not sure if you guys were aware of this, but Mary Bennett does our ghost tours. She's been doing them for years here in Carson City, but we have lately been using her as a step-on guide tour of a city tour here in Carson City. And she's been doing that for us since May. And that's a huge win for us. When it comes to tour operators, they want to be able to do a quick city guide, a city tour, and we've never really had that resource. And she has offered and opened her, arms to welcome us. And so she's our main point of contact. We've also connected her to Travel Nevada to make sure that they are utilizing her services. The more I think we can keep her busy, the happier she'll be. The next one here is a HEMA tournament. I reached out to a group that historically European martial arts. They're based out of Reno and also Vegas, and also some partnerships in Philadelphia. And if you've never seen, it's just a combination of different martial arts that's historically European. And they do these tournaments, and we have scheduled them for May 21st and May 22nd for a small tournament that we hoped will grow in addition with a Celtic series that we're trying to package together. So this is in the works. We're working together on trying to figure out more logistics of it and how we're going to market and gain some awareness on this event. But this is something that is the wheels are already turning, and we're hopeful that we're going to get a good turnout, but something that we can see grow every year. I told them when I met them that I thought that their tournament was unique, but not unique enough to where it would attract a major event. And so our goal is to find another partner, something like the Celtic Festival that they do in Reno, to kind of package it together to where it can become a bigger event. And then a few weeks ago, I had a chance to go to Albuquerque, and then on my way to South Colorado, in this little small town, to watch a train event that was called the Iron Horse train event. And I went there because our Nevada Railroad Museum was there as a partner. I guess it's a big deal in the railroad community when you get two of these trains together, and they had four there. And so they are trying to do an event next year celebrating the 150th year of the Carson to Reno connection of the VNT train. And so we went to kind of scope it out to see what it would look like and what are some of the must-have activities that we need to include in next year's event during 4th of July weekend. And so we came back with great ideas, met some great contacts that we are hoping will lead to not just a great event, but great opportunity for us to kind of help the Railroad Museum build out some of their activities and events that they don't really have an events person. So it was kind of important for us to kind of get into their world, to see what that looks like, and then see in what avenue can we contribute and help with them with that. So those were the major new products and events that have been keeping up majority of my time this past month. That's all I have for you. If you have any questions, let me know.
Thanks, James. It's a tough time for events. I do want to announce Steve Kim has joined the meeting. He's on the phone, our fifth board member, so he is with us. You there, Steve?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, James. Thank you. Great presentation. Steve K., we're moving on to 10D, Arts and Culture Update. That's where we're at in the agenda right now. So we're going to go ahead and have Deborah
Thank
Soul. Yep, you betcha, our Arts and Culture Program Manager. Give her first official PowerPoint update. So, all right, Deborah, take it away.
Deborah Soul here for the record. I'm going to talk to you about some of the activities I've been involved in for the past month, which include the Arts and Culture Master Plan update, a cultural mapping project, a possible exhibition, and other possible state-distributed ARP grant opportunities, and continuing to meet with arts organizations in the community. So the Arts and Culture Master Plan Review and Update project is underway. To raise awareness of this project, we issued a media release, inserted information about the Arts and Cultural Master Plan process in the Arts and Culture page on Visit Carson City website, and provided this information through social media so that we made the 2016 plan update available to everyone and provided input forms to any interested persons who wanted to contribute to that. And so far, I'd have to say that it's generated a lot more responses than I was anticipating. Back one. Oops. There we go. So I've contacted all of the cultural organizations and met with many representatives from each, and in some cases, the entire board, to explain the process and distribute master plan input forms. Some of you may have already received some of these. I've already started to receive feedback from them, and I've commenced tabulating the results. The next step, David and I are organizing a meeting with the lodging properties on September 28th to get their input, and then I'll be bringing this input and my recommended updates to a joint meeting of the Culture and Tourism Commission and the Arts and Cultural Commission that will take place right after our meeting on October the 11th. As an accompaniment to the updated Arts and Culture Master Plan, I've commenced creating a set of cultural maps to identify all of Carson City's cultural assets. Maps are a preferred format to communicate this information because they provide a visual depiction of all the resources that locates them on a map, which is useful for residents, it's useful for visitors planning a trip, looking for destinations that they'd like to experience. It's also a valuable tool that the city can utilize to evaluate their assets. What's available, what's missing, where are they located, are they in proximity to one another? If you overlay another map, like a transportation map on top of it, then you can evaluate how accessible they are. You can look at parking, proximity to accommodation, and other services. You can look to see if they're situated in an area that would lend itself to becoming a cultural district. So lots of questions can be answered by placing them on a map. You can also extract information from the maps to produce brochures and other printed information regarding cultural facilities, cultural events, and public art. Actually, one of the images up on the slide on the screen is one shot of a piece of public art from the public art map that I created in another location, where it maps out the locations of all the public art in the city on the map. And then when you click on the icon for it, it pulls up the image of the piece of public art and information about it. And the piece that's in that slide on the screen, it doesn't actually have a slingshot. They're pieces of piping. But it's a great piece of public art. Because cultural maps provide a direct link to each destination through the pop-up boxes that appear on the map, they can also provide more detailed information about specific facilities, things like the number of seats, lineup of shows or events taking place within that venue, how to even order tickets. They could also include information on the space available for other people in the community who might be looking for space to book, which is something that I've learned people are interested in based on the cultural master plan review that we're undertaking now. So there's lots of uses for the cultural map exercise. So we've had some discussions with Michael Baker and Associates, the consultants who previously assisted in the creation of our GIS maps, and also with KPS3, our website development consultants. It looks like the project is relatively straightforward in terms of plugging it into our existing website. So I've commenced the preliminary steps to create these maps, which essentially requires creating a fairly large database that includes all the information to be inserted, plus geolocations for each point of interest. And once this data set is complete, it will go to our GIS partner, and they'll prepare the maps. You'll also probably have noticed in your package that we were offered an art exhibition spot at the Reno Tahoe International Airport. The timeline, however, to pull this exhibition together was extremely short, 6-7 weeks. So my intention was to showcase an existing collection of works that showcase Carson City as a destination. And I was looking either at the Stewart Indian School Museum and Cultural Center or the Kit Carson Trail. However, as it's turned out, the material, the actual content that we needed to utilize for the exhibition is not currently available. So I had to decline the offer at this time, but I've negotiated an exhibition spot for later next year. That will provide us with adequate time to prepare a fabulous exhibition about Carson City. I've also been looking at and exploring other grant opportunities, including the state-distributed ARP grant funds. And the team has been in discussion about potential projects that could be the focus of a grant application. Final details about the actual categories of grant that we're interested in have not yet been released, so we'll keep you posted. And I'm continuing to meet with and collaborate with representatives from our cultural organizations and destinations, and there's certainly lots of them out there. And I'm ready to help coordinate the RAC grant process. We've not yet received any applications yet, although I have had a few inquiries and questions. Not surprising, though, since applications for most grants tend to come in very close to the deadline date. So we'll see how that all transpires.
Thank you,
Any
Deborah.
questions?
Any questions for Deborah?
No, I think you're making, we were talking earlier, it probably seems like a daunting process putting together the master plan, but I'm very happy with the progress you're making. And thank you. I did want to ask, and maybe it's too early, the hotel meeting on the 28th. Have you gotten any
So,
response from that, or is it too early?
too early right now, so I need to confirm the tech side of things. The Staybridge folks have kindly enough offered the room at no cost to us. So Brenda, James, Lydia, myself, we're going to test out the WebEx or a Zoom meeting. So I want to make sure we allow for in-person and WebEx or Zoom connectivity on that. We're going to be testing everything tomorrow. So if all goes according to plan and it works, then I'm going to get an email out notifying all of the the managers, general managers, ownership groups, sales folks, marketing folks about the 28th. And my thought is we'll do it in the evening, maybe 5:30 or 6 p.m. start time, so we can allow for everybody to be off work and not cut into their work day. So, yeah. And I just want to say, I'm very excited with the cultural mapping, because I think this is going to be a great enhancement to our website. We kind of have the standard, if you're familiar with how we had to change the website and go with the Google mapping, well, you're limited to whatever Google's desire is at any given time. So as they change their mapping, so goes our website, right? If they take something away, it comes off of our website. So I like the idea that we'll be in full control over our own mapping and what's included and how it's represented and mapped out, and all the coordinates and all that information on our website. So it's a big task. I know Deborah's enjoyed working 8 and 10 hours a day keying stuff into Excel spreadsheets. So she's been wonderful to keep that good work up. So thank you, Deborah. And I'll keep the board posted again about the joint meeting after our meeting on the 11th of October. So, and Stacy, the idea there is knowing that that recommendation has to make its way ultimately to the Board of Supervisors for one of those meetings in November, I think. So probably toward the second meeting in November, but we're trying to get that through to you and the Board of Supervisors. So that's
Yeah, okay, that's good.
Yeah.
I would have, I have one question, if I may, Mr. Chair. I think the cultural mapping is a great idea. I love that. And so thank you for pushing forward on that. The one thing that we had mentioned in the past at the airport, and I know beggars can't be choosers, but it would be wonderful if we could get some space in the B concourse during the legislative session. I really, that is when most of the legislators and lobbyists are coming back and forth. And I think it's a fantastic opportunity to showcase arts and culture in Carson City. And last year, or what was it, 2019, I believe, we had some space, but it was in the C concourse, and very few people are flying those airlines between Vegas and here. So again, it's we'll take what we can get, but if there's an opportunity to negotiate that, that would be great.
Deborah Soul here. I just wanted to respond to the suggestion of Concourse B. My understanding, actually, I went to the airport and toured both sections of Concourse C and B that are available for art exhibitions, and the space in Concourse B is very small. It's about 12 feet wide compared to the 240 linear feet in Concourse C. However, it's my understanding that there could be some changes in store next week, because the current person who coordinates the art exhibits in the airport's retiring next year, and she confessed that there very well might be some fairly big changes in terms of how they run their exhibitions and the space. So I'll keep my ear to the ground to see what's happening there.
Yeah, I just think it's important to keep in mind that the people that are coming to Reno, I mean, Southwest, let's face it, is the biggest carrier in and out of the Reno airport, and they fly into the B concourse. And so
Yeah.
anyone coming from Las Vegas during a legislative session, and that's probably 70% of the legislators and maybe a good 50% or more of the lobbyists are going to come through that B concourse. And so that's all. I mean, if we can't do it, we can't. But if we can, I think it's a great place to showcase it for those people that will be walking by it every day.
Yeah, and Stacy, this is Dave, along the lines of what Deborah said. We're hoping maybe with the changes that they're thinking about at the airport, that maybe they'll create a larger space similar to Concourse C, like we did have in 2019, where you had the wall, like there was 200 and something linear feet, like Deborah
Yes.
said, that they might do that in Concourse B, because I totally agree with you. It was my first observation. I'm like, oh, if only this was in B, right? When it's during the legislative session, well, everybody's coming on Southwest from Vegas, right? So we're missing those people by having all of the artwork in C. So we're hoping that they might flip things around maybe for 2021, which would be great. At least if we, for November, December, and January, we'll have a presence in both concourses. So that's good. But I agree with you for February forward. It would be nice if they change,
Of
flip it.
23.
Yeah, or-
February forward.
23, yeah, you're right. Sorry, 23. Yes, 23. Yeah, agreed. Yep, 100% on board with you.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, great questions. Thank you, Stacy. All right, we'll go ahead and move on to.
Hey, Dave.
Oh, I'm sorry, Bobby. Sorry.
Did I say something?
Yes, of course. Yeah, sorry.
This is Bobby Rader. I just wanted to say that I really appreciate the amount of work that Deborah put into going through the master plan and putting it into that survey format, because I've tried to read the master plan and it's very detailed, and putting it into that survey format was so much easier to respond to, and I appreciate all the work that went into that. And I'm sorry we couldn't do the airport exhibit. It was just such short notice, but we'd love to do one in the future. And I love the cultural mapping idea too.
Yeah, Deborah's slowly getting over that you couldn't get the assets together. She said it'll take her probably till about next November, and then she'll feel better. But yeah, no, great point. This has been a lot of work, and we're staying the course on the Arts and Culture Master Plan. So we've got these first two stakeholder groups that we've worked through, and then we're ending with the lodging properties to give them an opportunity to, I think it's important for our lodging partners to understand, how does the community view arts and culture and what's important to them? And then same thing with the arts and culture organizations. And it's pulling these three stakeholder groups together, as we come to the Board of Supervisors with hopefully what I think is going to be a nicely laid out new Arts and Culture Master Plan. But more importantly, it will have measurements and KPIs or outcomes, as Deborah calls them, so we can measure, right, success against that plan, not only for our lodging properties, but for those other two stakeholder groups as well. So I'm excited, and I know it's been a lot of work. So I'm glad I didn't have to do it. Jeez, whew, that's all I can say. So no, great point, Bobby. Thank you. All right, we'll go ahead and move on to 10E, the marketing and public relations update. So Lydia, take it away.
Thank you, Lydia Beck, for the record. I can tell you the state from which I made this presentation a week or two ago to now, I feel like with the smoke, weight has been lifted on all of us. There's a lot more smiling faces around here. So it's nice to have a more sunny disposition looking forward in the next few months. So for this presentation, we'll be going over a digital update, the PR report, our Expedia update from the co-op we did, and then also a quick recap on the ESTO conference I attended in LA. So starting with the website, our top content has changed a little bit. Love seeing that the one event we did have, the Outlaw Flat Track Race, was number 4 for the month of August on our top 10. So otherwise it was the landing page, things to do, hotels, rail bikes, our events page, the Brewfest, the Kit Carson Trail remains on our top 10 pretty consistently. And then also our arts and culture page, which was driven by the paid social ad that we did to help Deborah's responses for the arts and culture master plan. And I am excited to update that. We'll be working with her to update that page hopefully soon when she gets out of the weeds a little bit with this arts and culture master plan. So we're going to be, Zach and I are going to be working on gathering more assets and photos so that we can make sure that we all can build that out together with Deborah's guidance along the way. For the social media update, we started our first paid efforts ever for arts and culture to help promote the first rides for the V&T train that happened, and to, like I mentioned, drive traffic to the arts and culture landing page for that master plan feedback. Our regular paid efforts promoted the events that were supposed to happen. We also did a carousel ad promoting general attractions, a newsletter sign-up advertisement, a video ad, and a visitor guide download ad for the month of August. So we had a pretty good mix of what you can see here for all the different social media ads that we ran on Facebook and Instagram. So overall, we reached over 116,000 people. We delivered over 250,000 impressions. We spent roughly about $1,800 last month, which is a little bit under. With the smoke, we kind of tapered back a little bit to make sure that we had the right messaging towards the end of the month. And then our unique clicks were about 4,500, and the landing page views were about 3,000. So the landing page views are the biggest thing that's affected by the iOS update. So once someone opts out of tracking on their iOS, they pretty much lose track of them after the link click. So you can imagine there's a pretty big difference there, over 1,500 people that we didn't get from the landing page views to the unique link click. So that's one thing that we're tracking and keeping in mind for our paid efforts. And things with the iOS update change all the time, so we're doing our best to making sure that we're understanding where the difference is in our tracking. But right now, we're really just seeing that difference in our landing page views. This is an example of our carousel ad that we have. There's actually a couple more slides that are in here, but for the sake of demonstration and space on our slide, I put our top ones that performed. So we promoted walking the Carson Trail, which obviously you can see translates to those top landing pages, exploring Ash Canyon, rail bike tours, our museums, and so people can click through and see what there is to do in Carson City. And these were an example of the ad that we did for arts and culture. So on the right is in the stories format, which you'll see on Instagram and Facebook stories. And on the left is what it looks like normally in your Instagram or Facebook feed. And those performed really well. And for the PR report, Bobby was correct in that they've gotten an incredible amount of coverage over the last 2 months for the Remembrance Run. Put them in some really major publications and really boosted our unique visitors per month to over 87 million people. We reached 342,000 people and a publicity value of over $71,000, almost $72,000. You can see that our brand poll breakdown was a majority historical, and then about 28% arts and culture, and then some small slices for family-friendly and outdoor activities. So for media fams, for our monthly summary, we hosted Tanvi, who's a freelance writer working for Travel Leisure, afar.com, and quite a few other publications. So she stayed in Carson City and is hopefully going to be pitching a story about the area. So we'll hopefully have more information on that soon. The biggest story was about Koo Stevens, who hosted the Remembrance Run, which looked like an incredible event. I was at Esto at the time, so I wish I could have seen it, but the pictures were pretty powerful. There's no surprise that it got picked up by the New York Times and quite a few other publications. And then we had some big press on, of course, what was supposed to be a really big weekend for events, but unfortunately some of those due to the Caldor fire and the poor air quality, some of those got postponed, which picked up even more press about Carson City. So hopefully those will drive some interest for next year. And then we also had some press from Pride Journeys, which is an LGBTQ plus travel directory that we began advertising in their travel directory last year. And we've renewed our subscription for that to be featured in their travel-friendly destinations. And then we did a feature for a Falling in Love with Carson City series that they did for the people who advertise for them. And those will be going over all the things that you can do in Carson City this fall. So these are the top publications. What you see in red is local publications, and black are the most major Most of those UVPMs came from the Remembrance Run in New York Times, the North Platte Telegraph, and the Fremont Tribune were some of the biggest ones. And you can see the North Platte Telegraph had a publicity value of over $17,000. So some big ones that came from those stories and out of Stewart. And as far as PR goes for just promoting responsible travel, we just felt like it was the right thing to do to pause our paid advertising over the last couple of weeks. So since the last week in August, we paused our paid efforts, went all organic, and really went into kind of crisis communications mode to be able to put the most pertinent information out about, reconsidering traveling, and our hotels are full with evacuees, and we were getting information out about the evacuation centers and what's happening in Carson City and truly what it was like to be in the smoke here. So we went the most realistic route and asked people to postpone their trip if they could. And as of today, we're now back to our full paid advertising now that we have our sunny skies. So we kind of resurfaced our Safely page too to retool that to have COVID information and fire information, and we'll likely continue to do that in the future. Hopefully we will not have to. But below is an example of the Instagram posts that we did. We did a couple of these. We use Instagram stories as a huge source of way to get information out to people. It was actually pretty amazing to see the local authorities and CAL FIRE and other tourism destinations and just groups around the lake share information with each other. And if you're not on Instagram, you probably didn't see a lot of that, but there was so much information going out, and it was as positive as it could be. And there was a lot of sharing and promoting and just empowering people to do everything that they can. And it was nice to see everyone band together. And on to Expedia. We completed the Expedia co-op that we did with Travel Nevada in July 14th of that month. And we had some great success from that. And so hopefully with this next grant round, we'll officially be able to do the co-op again. So we'll be excited to continue this. But you can see we delivered over 7.3 million impressions, had almost 4,100 clicks. We had $273,000 worth of gross bookings and had over 2,100 room nights booked from this campaign. And that was perfectly right in time. I think like the 14th was when all the smoke started to roll in. So that was some great timing. This is some more information about Pride Journeys. And the reason I bring this up is because I just got back from the ESTO conference, which is also the Educational Seminar for Tourism Organizations is what that stands for. If there's a tourism conference to go to, this is the one to go to. So I was lucky to attend that. There was a lot of great information being shared about what people are doing in COVID and what they have been doing. Obviously, we haven't met for a couple of years. So it was nice to see some familiar faces and be able to share stories of what's working for everyone. There were some great breakouts and feedback gained from going, but one of the biggest threads was focusing on DEI, or diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I think that's something that we could absolutely improve on here. And we've been working forward towards the last year since we started working with Pride Journeys and reaching out to some other people to see what's a good partnership. So we are listed in their travel directory online, and we were able to list 5 other LGBTQ plus friendly businesses in our destination for free. And then we also submitted that content for the fall article. And we're just working on being aware of having a better representation in our photos and in our fam tours and the influencers that we bring in to making sure that people can see themselves in our destination. And so we'll be able to continue these efforts. And next year, we plan to be a sponsor in the Northern Nevada Pride Festival in Reno and have a presence there to continue these efforts onward. And I'm happy to entertain any questions.
Yeah, I just want to add, this is really, Lydia stepped up here on the destination management side of things, and appreciate that, and, helping me work with the city management and the EOC and fire and all those folks. And so what you're seeing here is really on the management side of things. And I really like the direction on the DEI front. So I think we have a great opportunity. I think we're such a welcoming community here to embrace visitors from the different LGBTQIA plus groups. And so we're starting out small here, but we're building some momentum, and I hope that you'll see this reflected, as Lydia said, in our fam tours and who we're inviting, whether they're influencers or traditional travel writers, and the same thing with our advertising efforts. So I think this will be something that naturally falls out as far as our creative brand execution, and our launch for next year, but everything that we're going through right now, because we saw this come up a little bit in some of the baseline research, and I certainly expect to see this in the qualitative and quantitative research. So I'm excited about the opportunity here to try and maybe we're a little behind on this front, but we'll get caught up quickly, I hope. So any questions for Lydia from the board? Thank you, Lydia.
Thanks.
Okay. Thank you again. With that, we'll go ahead and go on to 10F, future agenda items. So are there any requests from any board members at this time for a future agenda item? Okay, seeing none, we'll go ahead and move on to 10G. Our next meeting is scheduled right here on October 11th, 2021 at 4 p.m. And then again, just as a reminder, we are working right now to try and have that joint meeting take place in the theater, so community center, but in the theater, since there would be 12 from the joint commission/board. So that's what we're working toward right now, very diligently. So with that, Chair Jones, I'll go ahead and turn it back over to you.
Thank you. We'll move on to item 11, board comments or announcements, requests for information. Anyone?
Yeah, David, I just wanted to confirm you're looking at doing that on the 11th, right? So we'd have just the one meeting in the evening?
Stacy, Dave, to answer your question. So we are going to keep our regularly scheduled meeting for 4 p.m. and with the hope of being done between 5 and 5:30, because when I talked to Nancy about this, the IT team, they have to, during that day or however, they have to set the theater up, right? Since we can't get 12 people up here. So
Right.
we would do our meeting and then they have to do whatever they need to do to conclude our meeting and then get everything restarted for the theater. So we could try for 5:30, but I don't know if that's enough time for everybody to do what they need to do, because we definitely have to be done by 5 or a little before. And I'm hoping to have KPS3 potentially come in and give an update on where we're at with the creative brand execution. So we'll need a little bit more time at the October meeting. So we thought, just to be on the safe side, to start it at 6, if that works.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it was just unclear to me if we were doing one big meeting or.
Oh, no.
two.
Yeah, no, they're two separate meetings. Yeah, so the Cultural Commission, Nancy's working with them. I think, Deborah, if I'm wrong, you correct me, but I think to have there's going to be a Cultural Commission meeting, but that's its own meeting, but on the 8th. I think that evening or something, or maybe afternoon. So, yeah, so I know it's kind of weird. Friday, Cultural Commission, Monday, us at 4, and then at 6, it's a joint. Yeah, so it's a lot,
Yeah.
I know, going on, but thank you.
Any other comments or requests from the board? Not, we'll move to item 12. We'll ask one more time for public comment. Is there anyone on the line that would like to comment?
There are no callers on the line at this time.
Thank you. Then we'll move on to our last item, and that's to adjourn. If I could get a motion.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
We're adjourned.